Amigos y amigas, another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. We're starting right now. Apologies for the many of you guys that were waiting for us at the top of the hour. We had some technical difficulties with routers. Tom is in Argentina. You know, this is all throughout the American continent, so we're bringing it to you. I'm sure there's bound to be technical problems. Cesar in San Diego, Tijuana is hopefully joining us soon. There he is. He had to restart his Wi-Fi. It's like all of America's routers and internet problems all at the same time kind of got us. But looks like everybody's back, and we're just going to jump right in. We missed last week with some scheduling issues, and we apologize if it kind of goes in and out, but this is what you deal with when you're trying to do a live show for you guys. So we'll just jump right in. Thank you, all of you. Another edition of Monday Night Football, Mexican Soccer Show. And we're going to jump with our question of the night. How seriously have you taken these November friendlies? And we'll start with Adriana Terrazas in La Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City. Adriana, are you there? You're good? Everything good with you?
I'm here.
There you go.
Good. I'm just thinking how seriously I'm trying like to think forward and be like, the players were complaining about the lack of a project. It's not like we lost 2-0 to Argentina after having the most brilliant 2 minutes of the year. But yeah, let's just take it as it is. Players trying to win a place for next year, trying to win over Martino, I guess. And yeah, just trying to close off a really irregular year for the Mexican national team, I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely closing off and I completely agree with what you're saying. Kind of like, what is this all about? Cesar, San Diego.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. I mean, Wi-Fi's good now, I think. Yeah. I have no idea. I know.
I think Adriana was breaking up a little bit on there, but I think we should be good now.
Okay, cool.
Better, so.
Hopefully we're good. Well, I'm good. I restarted the router while you guys were probably talking about, I don't know what, the last 9 minutes. But
no, we actually started right when you came in. So
nice, perfect. But yeah, but I guess when it comes to those friendlies, I guess that's what we're here to talk about. I mean, I didn't take them very seriously, but I took them more seriously than a friendly in the CONCACAF region, I guess you could say. I mean, there weren't very many fans in the first game, and that's because, I mean, it seems like everyone's mind is really set on the Libertadores final. But I think in a different atmosphere, in a different country, in a different region than Mexico is typically used to, I think that's why I would take it a little bit more seriously. I just wish we would have seen some of the younger players take part in the first game. I'm sure we'll probably see them in tomorrow's match, but I think overall I took it just slightly more seriously than, say, Mexico versus Bosnia and Herzegovina in like San Antonio or something like that.
Yeah, all right. Okay. We'll go with Tom. I mean, Tom has to take it seriously. Like, he's in Argentina. So if there's anybody that's taking this game seriously more than anyone, it's got to be Mr. Tom Marshall, who, Mr. Tom, down all the way in that side of the world, it's the southern part. I know he's had some problems with connection, but I think we think we're good. Tom, can you hear us?
Yep, all good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we could. We're good.
Cool. No, I mean, obviously a really disappointing first game. I think Cesar touched on it there. You know, it wasn't a young team. I mean, this was a team with an average age of 27 years, 7 and played in Europe. There's only 2 that were actually under 26. So it's like, I feel like the narrative's been that, this is a young team, this is a young team. Well, actually, it wasn't a very young team. I'm actually a lot more excited about the game on Tuesday, where I think we are going to see a number of the younger players. And I think that's going to be much more exciting. From a Mexico point of view, it's nerve-wracking, to be honest, because, you look at the Argentina team and, it's not a perfect team. I think there's definitely weaknesses at the back. But, you look at it up front and they've got real quality. I mean, they've got a striker who plays for Inter Milan, who bangs in the goals week in, week out in Serie A.
And Lamella's supposed to be starting too, if all those tweets are right, about who could be in the starting 11. Yeah, so it's gonna be tough, man. It's not. Everyone's be like, oh, there's no Messi. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter, man. It's still gonna be brutal.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is the thing for me. I don't want to, smash the show wide open so early on, but it's probably worth doing. I mean, I think basically. Memo Ochoa's comments after that first game, really just changed the whole atmosphere surrounding these two games. I mean, for somebody who's 33 years old, that's just won, played 100 times for Mexico, to say some of those comments after that first game was extremely revealing. I think it said a lot about not just what Ochoa thinks, but also the other consolidated Europe-based players in this Mexican national team.
Well, we'll get into the comments, and we'll kind of just jump right in. Adriana looks like she's back. I know she had some issues over in the start of the show, and totally different computer is what we see, right, Adriana?
Yeah, I was actually only have to switch sides, but you guys can hear me now, right?
Perfect. Good. Really quick with the responses that we have. How do you take them seriously? Art Jurado from Twitter. You want your team to win against any and every opponent because you love your team, and in that sense, every game matters. Every game is important. There we go. You don't hear that very often. Every game is important. Art Jurado, you're a great post. But then we got Scott. How can you take it serious when you're playing the same team twice in a few days and it seems like they're randomly selecting anyone? So on the other side of the spectrum, Sergio, our friend, let's see, I think hopefully that's part of the conversation. He says, kill them all. I don't know what that means, Sergio. I mean,
it's a little aggressive.
It's Christmas.
Kill them all.
We can't do that. It's Christmas time.
I thought about making some subs, but not something like that.
Kill them all. Juan Pablo, a friend of J. Pablo, I don't know if it's Juan, it's J. Pablo, says, hurry up so I can spam Whistle with the banana and rice. There's a whole segment of that at the end of the show. Well, I'm sure we're going to discuss it.
That's all my notes are about, man. I'm not here to talk about soccer. I'm here to talk about you putting bananas on your rice. Mexican-American getting weirded out about that, man.
Whatever. Adriana does it too.
But it's fried bananas. It's valid because they're fried bananas and they're not raw.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. That
makes all the difference, dude.
Makes a little bit better.
I knew this was gonna happen. I'm
gonna ask my family. I'm gonna see my family this Thursday. Be like, do you guys put fried bananas on your rice? Why do you even do this?
I can imagine it in like Yucatan.
No, a lot of people don't want Guanajuato. And some people in Jalisco and they actually do it. I'm telling you. I thought it was weird when I talked about it over dinner, and then people were like looking at me, and I just put it on Twitter. Dude, I got a lot of responses. All right, keep going. We're already late. If people are here, I knew this was gonna happen. Talk about rice and bananas, but and I'll kind of answer. For some reason, I was looking at my schedule. And I'm like, all right, I gotta watch this game. But then something came up. I'm like, well. And what am I really gonna miss?
Rice and bananas.
Rice and bananas came up.
I'm just gonna sit in my corner and eat rice and bananas instead of watching Mexico.
And for me, the same thing. One goal went in, and it was just like, okay, that's one goal. Then the second goal, and 2-0, it was kind of expected on that. We say that we want some of these games to be in harsh environments, and we want them to go out there. But I feel like if this was only done before the World Cup or in another year, it would have been perfect. This is like the least interesting time in Mexican soccer in like the last 10 years to have such, a great game in Argentina, which hasn't happened, or in such a harsh environment in that type of stadium and atmosphere. But at the same time,
I mean, but I think like I said, I think it puts things into perspective. I mean, thought the Mexican team didn't have much identity. I thought they'd lost everything that Osorio would give them. Because I think an Osorio team would have gone after that Argentina side. And I thought Mexico was just so passive in that first half. Right, they had a couple of early chances, but, after that, it was just kind of like disappointing. It was like, what's this team about? And, they didn't play with any wingers. And it's like, if there's something that this Mexican national team has got, then it's good wingers. Mexico can do damage down the wings. And, you got Raul Jimenez up front, and it was just like, I don't know, I just felt like this was a team without an identity. Perhaps that's natural because obviously there's not a head coach right now, but it was just kind of disappointing. It just fed into everything at the minute. I just feel like there's a negative vibe around the squad. I mean, this has been a difficult trip. The organization has been a disaster. The transport has been bad. The training has been bad. I mean, even when you go to the training, there's such a difference between when Osorio is in charge. Okay, the players would do the little warm-ups and they'd mess around at the beginning, but they were working. There was an absolute plan. It just feels like this time around with Tuca, and I know Tuca's only a temporary manager, but it's just like they're just messing around. And you can see in like the set pieces, I mean, they're absolutely terrible at kind of defending set pieces. It's like it just feels like they're not like working on those kind of things, and I don't know. It's just kind of disappointing in a way. I mean, I really liked what Ochoa came out and said. I thought that
Can you talk about that for those of you that don't know, Tom, about what Ochoa said?
Yeah, he said this is a team without a direction, without a manager, that we need a new path, and that basically. You look at Argentina and Brazil and the way they export players, and Mexico just don't have that. And he's saying we can't consider ourselves. And he even mentioned like a team like Venezuela. He said we can't consider ourselves in this kind of bracket, this parenthesis, this kind of group of teams because we don't export players. And everybody in Mexican football, and he said the journalists, the owners, absolutely everybody has to look at themselves and think, how can we get up to that level? And I mean, I don't know. I know that I'm probably reading too much into it, but you look at the Argentina national team right now, and they're in exactly the same process. Aguero's not here, Di Maria's not here, Messi's not here, and they've got these new kind of generation of players. And you look at kind of Mexico's forwards, and you've got like Saldiva, Pulido, Jimenez, who, to be fair to him, is doing his thing. Then you look at the other side, and you got Dybala, and like he was a starter at Juventus, banging in 20 goals in 30 games last season for Juventus. You look at Correa, starter for Atletico Madrid, and it's like Lamela starting for Tottenham. It's like, I don't know. I mean, and I think that's that's the frustration from Ochoa.
But yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, I just think that this, what can we really expect from this team going out there? And I think that's what he's saying. The frustration of what can we expect? We're going to compare ourselves to Argentina. Where's Argentina in the World Cup with all those players anyway? I mean,
I don't blame Ochoa for having those worries, and I think, at least in the short term too. I think if we're just looking at just what Duca has done over the last few months, I've been fairly unimpressed by him, and I'm guessing what Ochoa is saying, and I guess Tom was just talking about it. It's much more than just what we've seen on the field over the last few months. But I mean, it really hasn't helped, and I'm really disappointed by Duca's little interim reign with Mexico so far. And I think it's a weird blessing in disguise, because I feel there are a lot of us who are really wondering if he would have been a good national team manager, if he would have been able to lead El Tri. I think the last the 5 games that he's been in charge, I mean, once again, you have to look at much more than just results, but I don't know. It's just, there's been such a lack of ideas going forward, such a lack of creativity. And just, but once again, at the same time, maybe you could also say, yeah, but he still has a job with Tigres, and he has a long and busy schedule. But I don't know. I guess I do agree with the stuff that Ochoa was saying on the deeper issues that are affecting Mexican soccer. But I mean, Tuca hasn't really been a breath of fresh air either, and I really was hoping for more. And I feel like Tuca really didn't exceed any expectations that I had from Tuca.
I didn't really have expectations on it. He didn't have a full team. The people that were coming from Europe, I felt like they weren't there. Like to judge, I think Tuca also, it was just things that were thrown at, it's like we're throwing things at the wall to see if it's going to work. And it's all just so many games that were played that were pointless at the same time. So I just feel like any expectations that we've had, we were going to be disappointed by him. If there was anything that we would see is some kind of youngsters kind of playing and maybe seeing some of the other generation in these 4 or 5 games with Tuca and seeing how they're played. But, again, I just feel like no coach, no direction. Some of the players don't want to be there, traveling. And at the same time, it was like Chucky wasn't there, like 3 weeks ago. At least we would see Chucky against that type of environment or defenders and stuff like that, and just kind of go, this games aren't as interesting as that is. But go ahead, Tom. I think. Go ahead. There you go.
I mean, I don't know. I know it's feeding into kind of, almost a populist kind of view. But I'll throw this out there. If every team, Tuca today was in the press conference saying that, we need to reduce the foreigners, like the Mexican players need to do in chances. Okay, if every team in Liga MX was the same as Tigres, since 8 years ago when Tuca took over, then what would the Mexican national team look like? Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a contradiction in what he says and what actually happens in Tigres. And I don't know, I'm a bit sick of him, to be honest, because it's like, all right, he sits there with his Mexico cap on and he says, we got to play the youngsters, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's like,
He doesn't do it.
You do absolutely none of that. You do absolutely none of that.
And then you start Pulido against Argentina.
He always says like, "Soy un..." Yeah, but he's always like, "Soy un soldado." You know, I'm a soldier. I just follow orders and all this kind of thing. It's like, I don't know. As a coach, you want an identity, something that you believe in, something that you work for. And I don't know. I think Tuca's kind of been shown up for the kind of lacking that. It's not good enough in this day and age to just kind of waltz in there and say, "All right, what do you want from me?" You know. And I think the French defender Colo. I can't pronounce his full name, but Colo.
Oh, Colo Tsichak.
Yeah, that guy who played for Tigres, and I mean, I've heard that Tuca never even spoke to that guy. This guy had won the Europa League twice with Sevilla, once as a starter and another time not as a starter. But this guy has got pedigree. He's now playing for, I think, Saint-Étienne, which is a very good team in France. And this guy said Tuca could never ever work in Europe. His ideas are just completely backward. And it's kind of like, yeah, but it also makes you think about the Mexican game as well. And it makes you think, well, if Tuca's one of the best coaches in Mexico, then, where's Mexico at? I don't know. I'm just in a dark place, boys and girls, right now.
Go to the light, Tom. Go to the light. I get that it's contradictory for Tuca, of all people, to say that they should be playing with national team players and Mexican-born and all that stuff. But still, I mean, any coach in his right mind wouldn't lose the advantage that the league rules have given them. I mean, if you saw Chivas, they would be begging for other teams to actually be doing that as well. But if you want to be competitive in the league, and as long as the league is allowing it, everyone's going to take advantage of how many foreigners they can get, because they just know that they can't be patient enough to actually build players that are Mexican-born. So it's up to the league to change it. And I think it was Guillermo Cantú, right, Tom, that he said that, yeah, they're looking into it again. I think the U20 rule isn't enough, because I just think they're going to burn out players. I think Tuca does have a point with that. They're just going to be like, okay, we made it to the minutes, and that's it. If you were a good player or not, they really don't care. I mean, there's like a gap between when they're 20 years old and when they're like 24. That I just don't see clubs going through with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get why Tuca says it, because I mean, he came in and he just knows he's going to be coaching six games when he took over the job. So there's no time for a project. The clubs aren't cooperating. Many of the players, some of the most important ones, don't even want to come. And then you got some others that are injured. So it really bothers me. I agree that they're not taking this seriously, because it's not like if we had the games like throughout the year. I mean, we have to go to the States, and then they have to play some teams just because they have to be there. But still, there's other things that I think are way out of Tuca's hands, or just any player's hands. And that, I think, is also what Memo Ochoa is saying. He's kind of seemed to me like he was complaining, and I don't mind that he's complaining, but if he's one of the more experienced players, I mean, he's the one that you would see going up as captain if Rafa Marquez is not there. Maybe as Chucky is a little too young. Andres Guardado is not there.
Layun.
So maybe he should.
Sorry,
I don't know Layun. I think Ochoa might be like up for the captain position. I would see him setting more of an example. If you want to complain about something, then complain to the players as well, not only Tuca. Just go out and say to Chicharito, "You're not warrior." So I think it's also a fact that to point out the players what they're doing or not doing for the Mexican national team as well.
I just kind of go back to the
Ochoa.
Go ahead, Tom.
No, I mean, Ochoa just wanted to get something off his chest, because he repeated those things in the mix zone a few times. It wasn't like he went to one person and said, "This is what's going down." He said it to different people along the line. He wanted to get something off his chest. And it goes back to this beef that's existed between the established Europe-based players and the federation and the media, and and I feel like Ochoa just came out, and I thought his statements were very measured. I don't think he was like, screw you guys. I don't like, I thought they were very measured.
Smart about it. Yeah, he was smart about it.
Yeah, but it points at an existing problem. And for me, I know people talk about, and I think it's true that the certain Europe-based players have got problems with, the payments for image rights and stuff like that. I think the Mexican players, the bigger name players, feel like they're not getting enough, a big enough percentage of the pie. But at the same thing, I think it feeds into something a lot bigger, and I think it feeds into a feeling on the part of Europe-based players in Mexican football that they're not valued like they should be valued. And I think number one on that list is actually Ochoa, because Ochoa gets so much stick, from Mexico fans, from people in Mexico, because he went to Europe, he didn't play for a long time, and then he went to Belgium. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, "Oh, the Belgium league, it's worse than the Mexican league." And I think Ochoa, if you read all of his statements that night after the first game in Cordoba, I think he's saying, "Look, us lot, we've sacrificed, we've battled to move ourselves to Europe." He's the first ever Mexican goalkeeper to play in Europe. And he's saying, "Look, if we want to move forward, we need more players to go to Europe." He's made a massive statement there, and I think that I think in many ways he's right. I just don't know what the solution is, because at the end of the day, there's money in Mexican football. Mexican Liga MX teams have got money, and they don't want to let the players go for peanuts. And I mean, look at the news today in Mexico. I mean, you've got one
Marcel
of Mexico's
Ruiz.
brightest young talent. Yeah, Marcel Ruiz, one of the best young players, like a legitimate talent. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's played what, 12 games, 15 games, first team level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. I mean, this isn't like Ezequiel Palacios for River Plate, who's just played a Copa Libertadores final against Boca in La Bombonera, and he's going to move to Real Madrid for what, 20 million, something like that, $25 million. I mean, and Marcel Ruiz, who's got 15 games under his belt for Querétaro, is going to go for Chivas for 8 million. I mean, this is the reality of Mexican football, and I think this is what Ochoa is getting at. It's very, very, I don't know. I just think he's worried about the future, genuinely worried.
Well,
and you throw in other things like the U20 rule, which we were just talking about, and then the fact that there's no relegation, so teams are kind of less obligated to actually make a competitive squad for next season, or for the next couple of years at least. Yeah, obviously, I think we all are worried. Continuity, we don't see coaches coming in with new ideas. I think it's something we should applaud, that we actually have some like Rafa Puente or like Patiño coming in, because we don't have the regulars, Sergio Bueno trying to rescue whatever team is facing relegation. But still, there's just so many that has to be done, and it's not being done in time, and we still want to make it through that 5th game in the World Cup. So yeah, I agree. I think Ochoa is smart about the way he said it, but I really, it's up to the federation to actually make a change.
This is the thing for me, just before Cesar, you guys go. Just a quick point, because I think it's really important. I don't think it gets said anywhere near enough. Is that Mexican football is improving. It's getting there. There's more players in Europe than ever. But this is for me what I believe it's relative, and it's relative to other countries. If you go like 30 years ago, how many Argentines were in the top leagues in the world? Not many. How many Brazilians? 20 years ago, 10 years ago, they start building it up, and now I think there's a bigger concentration of talent than we've ever seen in the game. I mean, the best players are now, because of the logistics, because of the resources that the big teams in the big leagues have, the very best players go to the very best teams. It's not an absolute rule, but it holds to a large degree. You don't get a kind of Pele like we saw, playing for Santos all his career. You just don't see that. That a Pele these days would get ripped up and be straight to Real Madrid, Barcelona. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I just think Mexican players are moving to Europe, but it's so slow, and the other countries are doing it at the same rate or a higher rate.
I guess the unfortunate thing is that we know the answers, and we've talked about this week in and week out. I mean, everything that we've been talking about right now, we probably discussed at least once or twice a month on the Mexican Soccer Show, and I think we know the answer. The unfortunate thing is, I mean, I guess maybe that's why there is a tipping point for Ochoa, why he felt like he needed to have a measured answer, or maybe measured response to some of those things. But I guess the unfortunate thing is, yeah, we can keep talking about these things, but are we going to see any of those changes? And if we do see any changes, are they going to be significant enough to make an impact in the next World Cup? Are they going to be significant enough to make an impact by 2026? I don't know.
And I think this is where it all comes down to, right? You can have as many players as going to Europe and have the talent pool that Argentina has, and still get knocked off with the greatest player that played the game, in the first, and not make it to the second round. That's our measuring, right? Winning a World Cup is what everybody wants to do. And I get it. I'm not saying, I agree with all that you guys are saying. even then, it's still not guaranteed to win a World Cup. And this is why we judge a good team by making it and winning a World Cup. I mean, look at Argentina and the talent they've had in the last 30 years. And yet, look what happens.
Yeah, but it's percentages, though. It's percentages, though. It's percentages, though. I mean, Mexico, over those years, Mexico have been lucky to get past the group stage. In 2014, Mexico was lucky to reach the World Cup. I mean, they were lucky, no doubt about it. I mean, imagine that from CONCACAF, almost not reaching the World Cup. I mean, you have to put it in perspective.
But the U.S. didn't make it to the World Cup. I don't think it was because of luck they got out of it, or Panama's in because they got lucky. I mean, we were going to make it. It was a playoff game against. I mean, granted that that Panama goal against the U.S. But what I'm saying is, and I agree with all of it.
It was lucky.
It was lucky. I agree with all of what you're saying. But even then, even if you have the perfect, recipe of winning a World Cup or making a World Cup team, you still might not. Right, and
I mean, if you got a good team with good players, with top players, then you're much more likely to win a World Cup. I mean, it's obvious.
And then you also need that luck too,
because they don't have that good players.
You also need that luck too.
Yeah. But I mean, the US not making the World Cup is because they don't have very good players. Let's be honest. I mean, they're good enough to get to the World Cup, but they're not a great team. Mexico not making the World Cup almost not making the World Cup in 2014. I mean,
and yet they were 2 minutes away from at minute 89 to make it to the next round because of a bad Piojo move and got this is what I'm talking about. There's a luck on both sides.
Yeah, I get what Tom is saying though. Like, if we're gonna bring luck into this, then obviously, if you're exporting more players to Europe, if you're strengthening the league, if you're looking past the CONCACAF region, if Mexico strengthens through that, then you're going to help you're going to be able to increase your chances. I think that's what Tom's saying. He's like, yeah, of course. It's sports. You all need some sort of luck in almost every situation game, but when you do strengthen those teams, you do send those players abroad. That does help your chances. That helps a little bit with that luck too. I think that's what Tom's trying to say there.
Yeah, look at Spain in the last 2 World Cups. I mean, they're a nightmare. But if you look at the talent pool that Spain have, I mean, who's going to win the next World Cup, Spain or Mexico? Who would you put your money on? Spain have got enough talent to win the next World Cup. So have Argentina. Mexico, you've got a big question mark.
Record this. Everyone record this episode. Mexico wins the World Cup in 2022. Come back and tell Tom Marshall who won the World Cup.
Oh, dude.
No, I just come down.
We're gonna lose to Argentina the round of 16. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh no, not again.
Back to the Argentinas.
At least make it another team, just so it's different.
You know what? I know we're totally going off topic, but I was having a discussion with a couple of friends from different parts of the world over the weekend, and we were talking about what soccer fans suffer the most. And I know this is a little bit off topic, but we think as Mexico fans we suffer a ton. And someone from Argentina, and maybe this is a question for you guys at the match. Someone from Argentina looks at what we do is no. You don't know what suffering is. This is Argentina. I
was going to say Peru and Russia or something.
No, because they don't.
It's all about expectations.
Yeah, it's all about expectations. We don't think. I mean, let's be honest. There's some.
Argentina could be.
There's some fans in Mexico and in the U.S. Mexican fans that think they're going to World Cup. You get it. You're Theo posting it on Facebook. We're going to win this year. I get it, right? But you're kind of all right. You know what soccer. But what true that knows what soccer that's been with Mexico thinking that they're going to win the World Cup? Maybe Hugo Sanchez in his own whatever mind, but Argentina and fans from Argentina literally believe they were going to win the World Cup. That's who, and it's when we talk about suffering, and it was funny. I'm I suffered in 86 and in 98 and 94 and 98. And they're like, no. I've never seen my team world, with Messi. And it's kind of funny. So to you guys, if you want to tweet at the Mexican Soccer Show, what fans out there are suffer the most? It's kind of funny. I know it's a little
Azul fans.
That is.
I mean, if we delete the last 8 months, is it England? Is it before that? Is it England?
I don't know, Tom. Tom, English fans suffer the most.
If we delete the last 8 months,
yeah. I mean, but it all depends on the expectations, and that's the thing with Mexico. And I think that's what Ochoa was saying when Ochoa said We're not Brazil. We're not Uruguay. We're not Argentina. We're not even Venezuela. That's what he's saying. He's saying we have to recalculate these expectations. We have to kind of almost, I don't know. I mean, honestly, just thinking about in the last couple of days after what Ochoa said, I almost remember there was that kind of wave of feeling and some pundits saying that after Mexico just about made the 2014 World Cup, they might have been good for Mexico not to make the World Cup. You know, I kind of buying into that a little bit more.
Johnny, our friend Johnny.
That kind of.
I said that. I still stand by that. I think
it burn everything down.
It sometimes you just feel, yeah. I mean, this is the federation that took away relegation, that had to put a U20 rule because no one will put the younger players to play. I was one of those people. I still believe that. I think sometimes you really need a huge crisis for people to take drastic decisions and make the results happen. So I wish it wasn't necessary, but I really do think that whenever money is involved, as it is in the World Cup, when you lose the possibility to go to World Cup, especially a country from like Mexico that not only wins a lot of money when they go to World Cup, but also gives so many money to whoever's organizing the World Cup. I just really think you need to lose it. It's where it hurts them the most. It doesn't hurt them sports-wise. It hurts them when it hits their pockets. So if Mexico wouldn't have gone to that World Cup, I really do think it might have been better. I hope it wouldn't, but I really do think something would have happened.
I mean, you see what happened with the U.S. men's national. Obviously, the U.S. men's national team is still not an ideal level. They still don't even have a manager just yet. But there is a part of me that when they didn't qualify for the World Cup, and when you see just the questions people have asked, you see just kind of the complete analysis, a complete kind of like rebuild they've had to do. There's a part of me that kind of wishes like, maybe that would be good for Mexico too. Obviously, the U.S. men's national has gone about the best way. They don't have a manager just yet. But I'm just saying that there's a part of me when I've seen people trying to rethink everything regarding the U.S. men's national team. There's a part of me that maybe thinks like, yeah, maybe that'd be good for Mexico too. Maybe that'd be terrible for everyone here, and we would have no work like it's 2022.
I'm gonna ask you this: have you ever seen a World Cup without your team in it? Like experienced it?
No, never.
It is the worst feeling. Yeah. Like, it is horrible.
I know, and then you're gonna work the rest of your life trying to avoid that. I mean, look at what's happening with the league. They had to have like these investigations come in from Hacienda, from some organization, which I have no idea who it responds to. And I think that's when they're going to start taking things seriously because they know that now they're onto them. Now they're actually looking into them. I really do think that's when they'll start taking things seriously and get things done well. Yeah, exactly.
Is there a chance that England didn't make the World Cup when you were younger and you're like had to watch the World Cup without your team in it?
Yeah, in '94, England didn't make it in the States.
1990. That was brutal for Mexico. All right.
No, 90 England made the semifinals. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. England, this is the perspective. England in '90 made the semifinals. I mean, it was a massive deal. It's this past World Cup in Russia was that also they made the semifinals, but the last time before that was '90. Yeah. And so '90 you make the semifinals and it's all amazing and everyone's celebrating. '94, you don't even make the World Cup. I mean, the Mexican fan experience is, for me, it's based on the expectation. I mean, it's a sell. I mean, they absolutely sell this national team, and they're very good at it. And they communicate with that kind of passion, and they communicate with the. Well, we have to do it.
They could do a better job of communicating.
We can do it. It's easy
we made that. It just goes back to the type of it's the Mexican fan too. I mean, we gravitate to anything in the United States. We're going to gravitate to anything in Mexico. So there's that too. And
yeah, I agree.
And it's easy. And I know we talked a lot about it. Can I get some positives from the game? Just think of one or two positives that I can have, and I'll start. I said that.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, and just so you guys can think about it. For some, and I think I tweeted this to you, Cesar. I don't know why, but I expected Mexico to be falling all over the place against the players. I don't know if it's height-wise. Maybe we didn't look like a team that got run over by defenders, or I even felt like we were on par as far as height and not that we're playing like these tall players, but there were some times when I'm like, wow, our players really went out there and were looking physical. Didn't translate to anything. I can think of that as a positive. But that's at least one positive that I saw. I don't know. Go ahead,
I agree. Obviously, if we would have won the game if we had some better opportunities in the final third. Maybe that's something we'd be highlighting. But I do agree with you right there, the physicality from Mexico. But I think Ochoa, I mean, if we're talking about Ochoa and his comments after the game, I thought he had a really good game. I was pretty impressed by him, and it makes me feel good as a fan knowing that he was basically able to solidify his status as Mexico's best option. I mean, the last 3 games, he wasn't given the start. Obviously, the game before that, the first game after the World Cup, it was a little of a tough match there that Mexico lost there. So I think I felt pretty good about Ochoa because I know he is a little bit older. He's in his mid-30s, but he is a goalkeeper after all. So I think he could still do a good job with Mexico in the next World Cup. I mean, maybe even 2026. Who even knows about what our goalkeeping situations could be like after that? But I also think that Jimenez was a little unlucky to not have a goal or assist, and I'm still fairly impressed by his energy. I'm still fairly impressed by his drive. And I think that in a starting 11, where especially on the field, I mean, if you're looking like past Ochoa, but just from all those field players in a squad that really, really lacked, I don't know, some sort of identity, some sort of energy. I was still pretty impressed by Jimenez, and he was unlucky not to score a goal early on. He was unlucky not to get an assist late into the match. So I think Jimenez deserves a little bit of credit. It wasn't his best game, but I thought he still had an all right match right there.
Positive Reyes also proved that he's still crap, but
I mean, but on all, I mean, other than Ochoa and Jimenez, other than that, it's tough. It's tough to find positives. I think that should be the talking point.
Positives from the game. I thought Güemes did quite well. I've always liked Güemes. I'm not sure he's an international player, to be honest, but I do like him. He's my style of player. He gives absolutely everything. You know, he gets tackles in. He stops the opposition. I thought he was probably apart from Ochoa, the main positive from that performance. But again, I mean, he's 27 years old.
Yeah.
If the kid was 20, if he was 21, you know, I'd be a little bit excited. But he's 27. You know, it's like
if he was 11, this guy's the next.
I mean, he's not a kid. I mean, this is a guy.
If he was an embryo, oh my god,
jeez.
I mean,
all right.
So yeah, so you know, I like Güemes, and I think the biggest positive thing right now is that Tata Martino's coming in because he's a top manager. And
biggest positive,
the best thing is the one that's not confirmed.
The biggest positive of the game is Tata Martino. Hold on. Let me get Adriana's positive before we talk about
the one that we're not sure about.
Adriana, positives. Can you look at what's dig out something?
The positive was that we were right to miss Araujo for the World Cup. And the first 3 minutes were brilliant. I mean, I was like, oh my God, where were you, Mexican national team in 2018? And I was like, okay, never mind. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't, I guess we were all thinking about a defeat. It wasn't, I guess we were all thinking about that. But still, I liked, they looked physically, I agree, they looked pretty well. I would have liked to see a little bit more depth in the team, a little bit more of an idea, but I get this. This is a team that was just like, thought of like a week before, not a lot of time to actually practice together. But yeah, I agree. Ochoa, I liked Araujo. I liked Alvarado at one point. I liked that he was fearless at one point. I really liked that about him because we know mentality wise we're not as good sometimes with the bigger teams. So yeah, I really liked him. Not the entire game, but yeah, there were certain moments which I thought this is a guy that I'd really like to see going forward in 2019 and getting some call-ups.
Yeah, and I think I echo that. Like, I felt like the team was fearless, even though we lost, even though it was there. Like, it didn't feel like we were in Argentina. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I just felt that's the only positive.
Because it looked like there was like 14 people in the stands. Yeah. It's like
it did. It's funny.
So that's why it was
when Mexican players were playing their usual, going back Ochoa and the defense coming back to him forever, and they started whistling at him. I was like, there we go. That's fine. No, but it's maybe because of that. All right. We talked a lot. Any last comments, Tom, about the game?
No, I mean the stadium.
Yeah, tell us about the actual year there and anything about as far as the atmosphere and things in Argentina and all that.
Things in Argentina. No, I mean it's difficult. I mean it's a world away. It's a world away from the United States. It's there's no luxuries. They're not treated like rock stars. It's like the equipment doesn't turn up on time. I think we've seen videos tonight about the state of the van that was bringing in the equipment to the stadium. I mean,
their shoes didn't make it on the first day.
I mean, the hotel they stayed at in Cordoba was. Yeah, I mean, the hotel they stayed at in Cordoba wasn't great, and I'm sure that fed into everything with Memo Ochoa as well, with what he was saying. He's like, what's going on?
Tom,
and the Wi-Fi is also
not great in Cordoba and where he's in.
It's not come in a better time.
All right, Tom, you went in and out, but I think you came back in, so you should be good now.
Just as consistent and reliable as Marco Fabian.
It's disappointing. No, it's just disappointing. It's not come at a time that's more useful for the Mexican national team. These games.
Yeah, and I think that's where I kind of go by. If this was before the World Cup, even if these 2 games, great, let's do it. 3 games, and we'll see that, or maybe next year.
Yeah, but the only.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, the only other thing is that, I mean, for example, the Europe-based players and even the Mexico-based players, you can't have these kind of logistics regularly. I mean, you take for granted what the Mexican national team has in the United States. They fly in, they fly out, everything's dealt with them, they sleep well, they go in good hotels. I mean, it's all laid out for them. And you go to Argentina and it's a struggle. I mean, it really is difficult. And I'm sure a lot of the players will go back to the club side very, very tired, mentally, physically exhausted, to be honest, because it's not a nice experience, if you know what I mean.
Question really quick before we move on to the next game. Because of obviously we are playing Argentina, we're playing South American teams and CONCACAF teams because during these FIFA dates, the Cup of Nations in other parts of the world are playing, right? What I was kind of seeing, we'll probably get that more opportunity to play South American teams and vice versa, that South American teams are going to look at, well, we only have either CONMEBOL teams or we have CONCACAF teams, and the only, the CONCACAF teams that we want to play that are at least semi-good is Mexico. So I can see us playing Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Uruguay a lot more now during these FIFA dates, that the only 2 federations that are not in it have to be playing themselves. Well, so that's going to be good.
Well, we'll see what happens going forward, because Mexico is eventually going to take part in the CONCACAF Nations League. I mean, it's not happening right now, but once 2019 rolls around, Mexico's going to have to do that. But I guess when it comes to logistics, I mean, I guess there is a chance it could happen. I haven't really looked into the exact scheduling of when Mexico has those friendlies, because obviously Mexico still has that Soccer United marketing deal. But this wasn't a Soccer United marketing friendly. It was one with I forget who, somewhere, an entirely different group, not Soccer United marketing, who had this friendly, obviously because it was in Argentina. But that will be interesting to see what it looks like going forward. But I think, once 2019 rolls around, Mexico will be taking part in the CONCACAF Nations League, and then that'll probably occupy some space that they'll have. And once again, Mexico will probably. I mean, I got to do some research, but I still think Mexico has got to be the most busy national team on planet Earth. I think
for sure in the last 10 years. For sure.
I heard some podcasts where I think I was listening to one earlier today where they were talking about England and just the crazy busy schedule that England's had this year. I think they said it was like they had 14 games this year, which is or 16 games is the busiest they have ever been since like some point in like the 80s. And I think Mexico, they didn't go as far in the World Cup as England, but Mexico, I think they're going to be at 15 games, or they're going to be like 1 game away from like England's like busiest year of all time. So it's pretty crazy to think that. I think in general, Mexico is the busiest national team. It'll be interesting to see what that means scheduling wise going forward with the Nations League.
That's crazy. So we'll see. All right, let's talk about tomorrow. Tom, are you back? I think you went in and out really quick. What can you tell us? Any previews about tomorrow? You're there. You're going to the practices, going to the press conferences. Kind of a quick preview.
Yeah, no, I think tomorrow's. I'm more excited about tomorrow than the first game. I think it's going to be Corona, Dueñas, Edson Alvarez, Cata, Dominguez, Artiega, Gutierrez, Aguirre in central midfield, Victor Guzman just ahead of him, and then I think Aquino, Brizuela, and then Henry Martin up front. That's what it looks like the team's going to be. It makes sense because those are the players that they didn't start the last game. And yeah, I'm a lot more excited about this game than the last one, because I thought the last one was a bit kind of fake. It was a bit of a false narrative that this is a young Mexico team. It was like, it's not a young Mexico team, it's a B team. Whereas this team that they're going to put out, that Ferretti is going to put out on Tuesday, is actually, he's actually, the likes of Aguirre and Gutierrez and Arteaga. I mean, those are players that we could genuinely see at the next World Cup. So let's see how they do. Edson Alvarez as well. I mean, Edson Alvarez against Icardi. I mean, that's the kind of battle you want to see these young Mexican players up against.
Mm-hmm. Good. What are you expecting, Adriana and Cesar, for tomorrow as far as what's a good result? I mean, again, going down there and losing, as long as we get humiliated, but playing a good game aside from 3 minutes. What do you guys think?
I think that once again, this is one of those games where I think you got to take the result with a grain of salt, and I think it's once again focusing on those young players because this is still a rebuilding moment for Mexico. We're going to continue to rely on a lot of veterans going forward, but day by day, little by little, we're going to start to have to give more opportunities to those young players. And I think a lot of those players that Tom just mentioned, whether it be Guzman or Aguirre or Arteaga, actually, I was a fan of some of the stuff that Arteaga did. He wasn't at his very best. Decision making was a little weird, but he brought some good energy to the last game. So I want to see more of him. Or would it be an Edson Alvarez? I think that it's all about focusing on them. And obviously, if they have a bad game, it's fine. They're still young players. It's going to be a learning experience for them. But I think that when you have a match like this in Argentina against an opposition like Argentina, I think this could be a highly valuable moment for them in their career, especially when they're representing Mexico. So I think it's just hoping that those guys are able to compete with the likes of an Icardi, with a Lamela, and hopefully that they'll be able to, boost their recognition with the national team and also help make their way up the depth chart, because there are certain positions. I guess there are parts in defense, maybe even a little defensive midfielder position there where we can have a few more players step up there and really help Mexico's depth.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of eager to see that Pachuca-born midfield going through. Yeah. I really do think, I really don't care about the results. If there's something I would like to take from not only this game, but all of Tuca's last couple of months with the Mexican national team would have been to see these players being against teams that they usually won't play in positions that mentally will challenge them, because we know they're talented. We just need them to get out of their comfort zone, maybe even get a little humility. Just like Tom was saying, just get them out of playing in the U.S. where they're always being the home team. So I really hope that they take this advantage and know that they're not only playing in Argentina against Argentina, but this is not going to happen too often, I think. Sadly, I hope it will, but I really just don't see it going through with all the contracts that the Mexican national team has to play in the U.S. So hopefully they'll take advantage of this. I really don't mind the result. I just want to see a team that has a personality, that takes advantage of this, that learns from this experience, and that tries to take it forward for whatever other compromises the Mexican national team will have next year.
Good. Just kind of thinking back of these games after we played Chile, Uruguay, and Argentina twice. These are good teams that we're playing against. And this was unfortunately after the World Cup, when I guess we didn't have a coach. Speaking of that, coach drama. Figure out Tata Martino. Things have come out the last time we talked about 2 weeks about everyone, the worst kept secret, but at the same time, Adriana, I think to sum us up for those Mexican fans that have just been like, it's not a World Cup, and I know that Tata Martino's there. Just give a little summary of what's happening with Tata Martino and in the coaching job, and when we would expect to have a coach.
So, in a few words, Mexican national team went to talk with Martino, and then the entire world knew about it, but they can't say it. That's pretty much it. And then they somehow try to distract us with, no. We've talked to about 24 coaches, which we literally couldn't write down, I think, even half of those. So
and it was wait, 24 interviews. That's we meant interviews, not coaches.
No. Don't get us wrong.
No, we sent somebody over there to interview them about their life, and that was the interview.
Yeah. So this has been going on for the last couple of months. This is the best telenovela ever. I mean, not even Televisa could have come up knows this. It's a fact. Apparently, Martino can't come through and say anything because he still has a contract with Atlanta United until the moment he's eliminated. So it's just something we're just waiting to happen. And then I have a little small devil Adriana over here on my shoulder that says, what if Argentina actually convinces him to sign with them instead? It's possible. I mean, I've seen so many versions saying that if Messi calls him and says, "Hey, dude, I really want you to be in charge of the Argentinian team," it just might happen.
Hey, Turco Mohamed doesn't have a job right now. It could potentially happen. But yeah, no, but like I was saying, just like, yeah, obviously Tata, but I think he's still coach right now. He's still coaching Atlanta United. Atlanta, they have MLS Cup playoff games I wrote this down, is it this Sunday is the first leg, and then they have a second leg next Thursday against New York Red Bull. So we'll see how he does there. And just, I guess the longer they stay in that competition, the more we'll have to be patient and see what happens. It's just so fascinating to think that Atlanta United, how well they do in MLS Cup playoffs will have a big impact on, I mean, just either when he announces that he's going to be involved with L3, or whether maybe something drastic the last second really happens where there is no signing. Because, I mean, as everyone has been saying recently, it looks like there is no official signing just yet that has signed with Mexico.
I think Azteca put it like a December 8th day. Like, for some reason it was out there that's the way it will be announced. I don't know if that has to do with the games. But Tom, what can you tell us about Tata?
Other people are putting, early in the new year as well. I mean, so we'll see. I mean, Tata for me would be, if you were to, I think we discussed it on the Patreon, me, Cesar, and Naive, and I think we came up with a list, and I think Tata was the number one on the list. I think we did it in like April. I mean, I think it's
the FMF
if
was
they
a
do send
subscriber.
Martino, it's an absolute
Patreon. Just FYI, I got to confirm about their email. They were listening.
I mean, it would be a brilliant hire. I think he's an absolutely top manager. Within the realms of possibility that Mexico could have hired, I think he's possibly number one or right up there. And so yeah, I'm generally excited about what he can do. But obviously, I've got my doubts about whether this younger generation can match what the Russia 2018 generation has managed to do. That's my big concern.
Yeah, and I still have, I mean, I think I still have a little bit of faith. I think a lot of that was just because of the 2-0 tournament. Maybe I was a little blinded by how well they did there. But I feel like there's still a part of me which still has a lot of faith in those young guys. But of course, the big question is, are those guys going to get minutes in Liga MX? Are they going to make the move to Europe? Is it going to be easy for them to make the move to Europe? Even if they get minutes in Liga MX, is that necessarily going to mean that they're going to transition into, good Liga MX players either? So I think that, yeah, I mean, once again, I feel like I guess that's been the story for quite some time, is that we have good young players, but it's just making that transition from the success you see the youth national team to the senior national team. And whether you can see that progress within Liga MX, whether it be a changing in roles, whether it be a changing in managers who really give more opportunities to youngsters, maybe it's more of a focus in the academies, although a lot of academies are doing very well, and just helping provide that change, that transition from that success youth level to the senior side.
I don't know what you guys are all worried about. We're going to make the Quinto Partido in
for me,
2026, so it's going to be
Oh, yeah, because
okay.
it's
It's going to be fine.
It's not like Cesar talks about the quality, and I don't doubt the quality. It's the volume of the quality that I doubt.
Yep.
Mexico's got like one layer of good player, good young player, but like other countries, they've got layer after layer after layer, and I think that's the issue. That's the issue. I just think there's still a lot of work to do, going right from the grassroots up for Mexico to be a top nation. And that's not saying they can't reach the Quinto Partido. Of course not. Mexico's going to produce very good players because culturally they've got the clubs, they've got the infrastructure to produce good players. It's just the volume. It's the statistical. If you only produce a certain amount of players, then the likelihood of those being absolutely elite players is less than if you're producing a lot of players. You know what I mean? And then you got some nations that every now and then, like Egypt, all of a sudden Salah comes out and he's like absolute elite. Mexico's have got a better chance than a nation like that, but still a bit off the world powers.
I don't know. I think I just have a lot of faith in those young guys. I think that like when you really start listing the promising young prospects Mexico has, it starts to turn into a surprisingly long list. I think I guess my issue, and I just kind of like talked about that right there. It's like I think these players have the potential to be. I mean, I'm not saying all of them, but maybe a few of them have a potential to be elite players. But of course, the big question is if they'll be given that opportunity to develop into those elite players. And I think the issue is less so to do with the players and more so. I mean, I think we all agree with that. It's just more so to do with whether it be given those opportunities to make that leap abroad, to be given minutes in a first division, whether they're going to be sent on loan to like some sort of second division team in Mexico might also obviously hurt their opportunities. But I think that's the bigger thing. I think there's a potential, but it's just whether it could be given the opportunity.
No, but my thing is all right. You name, Alvarado, Marcelo Ruiz, Diego Lainez, Arteaga, Jesus Angolo. You can name some more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like naturally some of those aren't going to make it.
Right.
It's just how it goes. It's like winning an under-17s World Cup is absolutely no guarantee. Winning an under-20s World Cup is a little bit more of a guarantee. But I just think Mexico have too few of those players right now. I mean, how many under-18s are playing in the Mexican League? How many under-20s are playing in the Mexican League? That's my concern.
Well, look at the Olympic. Look at the Olympic team, right? That won, and look at the players that are playing there. I mean, that's when you're at least a transfer a little bit more to the national team on the Olympic team that won in 2012. Not saying a full transfer, but we see that.
I just have the trust in that. Would it be the Tuolon core, whether it be some of the young guys we have right now within the national team, whether it be someone like an Alexis Vega who hasn't really been given enough an opportunity, whether it be a Marcel Ruiz who didn't show up on the scene until just like 3-4 months ago. I feel like there's I don't know, maybe I'm undeniably an optimistic person. And I might even be wrong, but that's how I feel.
I love your optimism, and it's something that I miss when I remember just being kind of younger. Kind of you go, wow, Mexico in the World Cup, and then my dad was like, they're not winning a World Cup anytime soon.
It's 98. We got a great team.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Like Luis Hernandez and Cuauhtemoc Blanco were the greatest players in the world, and then he just goes, we're not going to win the World Cup.
We just got the draw against Holland, Dad. Didn't you see that?
You look at that. And then 2006, oh my gosh, we're playing a great game against Argentina. Rafa's scoring, went up 1-0. And it's like, my dad's like, they're going to mess up. They're not going to make it. And then you start realizing the older you get, and I'm like, you bitter old man. You and then now I'm that person. I'm just like, yeah, well, I don't think we're going to see that World Cup anytime soon. But, hope in there, son and daughter and everybody.
It's gonna happen. 2055, 2084, 2084, guys.
Cesar and I are on there. We told you, like, finally, all right, guys.
My grandson's gonna kill it, dude.
Oh man,
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great.
Oh, great! Nak's grandkid finally scores in the World Cup. If you remember, we remember his grandfather came from France. All right, really quick. Liga MX is almost over on the really quick. I gotta mention it. You fans, the fans of the Mexican Soccer Show on our weekly quiniela are kicking our butts. Well, not kicking our butts. You're only up by 1. So this is the last week. So make sure you vote when the Mexican Soccer Show tweets the predictions for the last week, and hopefully I could win it all as far as the season. Then we go into the playoffs because I have 66 points behind 67. Adriana's right there at 66, tied with me. Amy showed up towards the end, 65, and Cesar at 62 can also make it. And then we have the Veracruz of the Mexican Soccer Show, Tom Marshall.
Yeah, how can you trust Tom's opinions? On all this, he's like, Giza, I don't think that they're gonna do well, and this young, this youth goal, they're not. It's like, he's in last place.
Every time Tom says anything, we're gonna go, yeah, just like we see your predictions. And yeah, I reiterate. This is why Jason's and Naive are gone. It's because he lost the Mexican Soccer Show. I think I'm kidding.
He faced relegation.
This relegation.
I've been back in Chivas and Atlas every week. They've let me down.
Man, this Guadalajara team stays strong. So definitely keep on that. But really quick, Liga MX last weekend, 3 points from each of you, or at least 1 point from each of you, which has 3 talking points of this weekend. But after the Mexico game, and then going into the last weekend, and we'll start. Mr. Tom, what's one talking point?
Playoffs.
Thank you. Move on.
Right. No, I mean, looking at the even the call-ups to the national team, I mean, there's been a bit of controversy as well because Iran Mier only got in this morning. So Monday morning he gets in for a game on Tuesday night. He flies all the way down from Querétaro. Querétaro are, fighting for a place in the Liguilla. And the manager who calls him up, he doesn't call up Hugo Ayala. No, forget that, because Tigres have got a big game as well. Like he calls up a team that is also fighting for a place in the Liguilla. I mean,
so is it like
in other places that would be a big scandal.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I don't honestly, I don't think it is. I don't think Tuca's like that. But like I said, in other places, this would be the biggest scandal. They would not let go of that.
He makes them run like extra laps.
So I mean, at the end of the day,
kicks them during training.
He's like, all right, everybody do 2 laps. You're gonna have to do 8. All right, and anybody that we could possibly meet up after your game, you guys follow them too.
But I think it's interesting that like Tom brings up, because I think that they're. I think when you're for me, when you're looking at the Liga MX playoffs, and right now Cruz Azul, America, Pumas, Santos, Monterrey are through. Tigres, Toluca, Morelia, they're 6, 7, 8. They're looking like they're just about to go through. And then Pachuca and Querétaro, they could potentially still sneak through, but they're going to have to get good results this Saturday. But yeah, once again, you look at Querétaro, you do have someone like a Hiram Mier in there. You have Güemes, who's a crucial player. And then you look at Pachuca. They're going to have to take on León. Obviously, León are no longer in the running, but, I mean, Pachuca, they have Eric Aguirre and Victor Guzman. I mean, 2 key players are also taking part in the international break. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see if those players, when they go back to their clubs, if they'll still be able to have the same impact, and if that'll be a big talking point. If Querétaro and Pachuca both lose, are people going to be saying, yeah, if some of those players weren't called up to the national team, they could have qualified for the playoffs. Maybe they'll step up their game even more, and they'll somehow be able to push Querétaro and Pachuca through. So I think for me, that's the big thing to keep an eye on. Those 2 teams are 9th and 10th place, yeah. Pachuca and Querétaro.
All right.
So I don't think it's.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think it's particularly ideal that. I don't think it's ideal that you've got 2 teams owned by the same family. Going up.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
The younger brother, yeah. I'm actually eager to see how the entire Estadio Azteca situation will go through. America's playing Veracruz in Toluca. And let's see how Cruz Azul does in case they end up being the super leader at the end of the regular season. So I'm kind of anxious to see how Cruz Azul deals with that extra pressure of La Maldición del Super Líder and all these like amazing things that come up in Liga MX that we just like love to talk about in the postseason. But yeah, I'm also intrigued to see what we'll go through with the Estadio Azteca going back to natural grass and all this thing that happened with the NFL. So yeah, I'm kind of eager to see that, and I'm actually I'd like to see what happens with them.
Did you go see the Kansas City fans today?
I didn't go see them. No, I know they're here though.
Cool. I was all over the Angeles. Hilarious.
Yeah, I know.
We came. We're already here. That was actually pretty cool because they're all like experiencing the city. And I could just imagine all these NFL fans going over there and be like, well, we have no game, but we have Mexico. Let's play around.
Yeah, they went like to Wings Army or something like that to watch the game. And I was like, that's going to be really funny.
Wings Army, that's such a weird spot.
I honestly think Leon's going to win this weekend. I know there's a controversy or whatever, but I think they've been here before, and the brothers, like the rivalry between the son and I think that the Martinez group, I think it happened before when Pachuca needed a win and Leon beat them and they didn't get into somewhere important, and people were making a big deal. So just watch.
But it is going to be a good Liga MX weekend because sometimes you have teams that already have a spot confirmed, maybe they have nothing to release, but 8 of the 9 games either have a team that are still fighting for a playoff spot, or they're going to either try to move their way up in the league table. The only game that you shouldn't really care about, which I feel bad because I cover them, is Puebla versus Xolos. Both of them are not in the running. Don't watch it. Don't care. I'm literally going to record a podcast where I'll talk about that game, but I'm just going to say right now that you don't need to watch that game on Friday night. Do something better.
And then I'm going to listen to myself go over and over again, whatever happened in that game.
But 8 of those 9 games, it's going to be interesting because once again, it's either a team that's fighting to go into the playoffs or a team that's already in the playoffs. They're going to try to move their way up the league table. So it should be a fun final weekend.
All right, cool. Well, let's see who wins our prediction table with between all of us and then you guys fans, and we'll talk that. And then we have Liguilla time, which is always a lot of fun. So we'll continue with the Mexican Soccer Show. Before we leave, Adriana, I know that there was a podcast recorded. Our football ladies had a great chat. Was it yesterday's, and it's already up today. Give us a little preview of what it is, and we'll tell obviously all the fans to go in and listen to it too. So what y'all guys talk about?
Well, the three of us, we just created like a Destiny's Child kind of podcast talking about soccer. It's really fun.
Sounds dope.
Who is Beyonce?
Yeah, we all dancing
There's a
around.
fourth member. Like, not there anymore. Nice. I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, we do have a really good time. We talk about all things Liga MX. We obviously talked about the women's team also doing well in the U20 U17 World Cup right now in Uruguay. They actually played against Japan tomorrow. And we also talk about the U20 men's team that played at CONCACAF. They have their ticket to the World Cup. They kind of struggled today against Panama, but they made it through. And obviously all things Liga MX, El Tri, the telenovela with Martino, seeing how that will go through and what should we expect. Also looking forward to next season because let's just face it, it's kind of being done already. So we're also looking forward to what's going to be happening for next season. Kind of summing up also what happened with all the Mexican national teams this year. Not a very productive year, sadly. Maybe the U17 women's team will switch that around, hopefully. But yeah, lots of fun with that podcast. Hope the guys, you can take a look at it in your car, whenever you're at the gym, whenever, and just let us know what you think.
Awesome. Well, a lot of other topics that we didn't talk about too here, and your perspective and your take on the issues that we have with Mexican soccer. So thank you so much, Adriana, Cari Torres, and Amy Lopez, who are all part of the Our Football podcast there. All right, guys. Well, I know we went a little bit later than the hour, but I know we had a lot of topics. Mexico plays against Argentina once more. Should be a more interesting game is what Tom is saying. Stay tuned. We'll continue to bring everything from the Mexican Soccer Show here on Mondays around this 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. I think there's a change. I don't know. I don't change the times. But
clocks anymore.
It's like 1 a.m. in where Tom's at. I know he's getting tired. So thank you, Tom, for joining us this late, and have a safe trip back. Would be great to be over there. I know I definitely looked at flights and I was like, no. I can't I can't go over there, but awesome. I will have you, Mr. Cesar, close us out for today's show, and we'll talk to you guys later. Go ahead, Mr. Cesar.
Yeah, so once again, keep an eye on the final Liga MX weekend of the regular season, but also, of course, you got to keep an eye. I mean, Adrian talked about right there, the U17 Women's World Cup. From Mexico, they got that final game against Japan in the group stage tomorrow. It's going to be a crucial match for them. And obviously keep an eye on Mexico's U20 squad too, because they qualified for the World Cup, but they also they qualified for the final for the CONCACAF U20 championship. I forget if it's either the United States or Honduras. Whoever won that game, they're going to be taking on, I think, on the 21st. So keep an eye on not only the final Liga MX weekend and Thanksgiving, and the Libertadores, and also the U17 Women's World Cup. Those we should keep an eye on the U20s in the CONCACAF tournament.
Lots of football, guys. Have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys next week on another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta luego.